Hello and welcome back to Travel in Chinese. I'm Mark Rosewell, better known as Dashan. We've been following Huang Renhao and his family as they arrive in Beijing and take a taxi to their hotel. Their hotel is not far from the Summer Palace, 离颐和园不远, not far from the Summer Palace. It's also not far from the Great Wall. From the 6th Ring Road, 六环路, you simply head north, 往北走. They put their luggage in the 后备箱, the trunk of the taxi. Small bags they simply 随身携带, carried with them. Remember, they already lost one piece of luggage at the airport. I hope they don't miss anything this time. Let's see what happens in today's dialogue.
走吧，我们进去吧。
哎，我的那个包呢？哪个？装照相机的那个包。
下飞机的时候包还在呢。
对，那个包没有托运，我一直随身带着呢。
那没准啊，落在出租车上了。
对，因为座位太小，我把相机放在后边了。
你呀，丢三落四的毛病也带到中国来了。
妈妈，那里边还有拍完的胶卷呢。
请问你有什么事情需要帮忙吗？
是这样，我们的一个包啊，可能落在刚才送我们的出租车上了。
是一个装照相机的一个。
什么样的出租车？车号您记得吗？
没有，你们呢？
我只记得是绿色的。
别着急，你们进来坐一会儿，我们想想办法。
谢谢。
稍等。
哦，好，谢谢。
先生，没记住车号没关系，你有出租车的发票吗？
发票？
找您钱时给您的。
哦，是这个吧？
对，就是这个。您看，上面有出租车的电话号码，还有出租车的车号。
这么说，可以找到那辆出租车了。
对，别着急，我们现在就给出租车公司打电话。
哦，好。
喂，你好，我们这儿有3位客人，刚才坐了你们的车，可能有一个包落在你们车上了。车号？哦，您稍等，您跟他说一下吧。
哦，好。喂，你好，车号是 BAF123。对。是从机场打车到饭店的。好的，好，那谢谢你啊。
跳的怎么样？
好，他们得跟出租车司机联系一下，有了结果呀，给我们打电话。
哎，又得等。
Okay, let's go over the dialogue bit by bit. Well, here we go again. 小杰 has lost her camera bag. Remember, 随身携带, to carry with you. She says she remembers having it with her when she got off the plane. 我一直随身带着. I carried it with me the whole time. 一直 means all the way or the whole time, for the whole duration. 我一直随身带着. 我把相机放在后边了. I put the camera behind me. This kind of sentence structure using 把 is very common. It's a way of putting the object before the verb. Now, we don't usually do that in English. We would say, I put the camera behind me. But to translate this directly, 我把相机放在后边了. I 把 the camera put behind me. I the camera put behind me. 我把相机放在后边了.
我的那个包呢？
哪个？
装照相机的那个包。
下飞机的时候包还在呢。
对，那个包没有托运，我一直随身带着呢。
那没准啊，落在出租车上了。
对，因为座位太小，我把相机放在后边了。
As Xue Mei says, 丢三落四的毛病也来中国了. You've brought your habit of losing things all the way to China. 丢 and 落 both mean to lose or to leave something behind. 丢三落四 literally means to lose 3s and 4s. This is just a way of saying that you lose all kinds of things. Note that the character la is also pronounced luo, but here it should be la. 丢三落四。
你呀，丢三落四的毛病也带到中国来了。
妈妈，那里边还有拍不完的胶卷呢。
When they ask the hotel clerk for assistance, they explain, 可能落在刚才送我们的出租车上了。Perhaps we left it in the taxi that just brought us here. Remember, 落 means to leave something by accident, to lose it. 可能落在刚才送我们的出租车上了。The hotel clerk asks if they can remember the taxi number. 车号您记得吗? Do you remember the car number? 记得 is to remember. 车号您记得吗? Unfortunately, they don't.
是这样，我们的一个包啊，可能落在刚才送我们的出租车上了。
是一个装照相机的一个。
什么样的出租车？车号您记得吗？
没有，你们呢？
我只记得是绿色的。
别着急，你们进来坐一会儿，我们想想办法。
谢谢。
黄仁豪 says, 有结果了，给我们打电话。They'll call us when they have a result. Well, let's hope it's a happy ending. That's 2 bags this family has lost so far. Let's watch that part again.
效果怎么样？
好，他们得跟出租车司机联系一下，有了结果呀，给我们打电话。
哎，又得等。
Let's take a tea break and talk a little bit about taxis in Beijing. Taking a taxi in Beijing is relatively straightforward. Taxis are clearly marked with roof lights as well as special paint jobs. Now, most taxis are red, but different companies sometimes use different colors. Regardless, a legitimate taxi should be clearly marked and have an official working meter. You should never have to negotiate the price of a taxi trip. Instead, you should insist on 走表, use the meter, or go by the meter, 走表. The only exception is if you're going to be traveling far out of the urban area or you're reserving a car for a whole day. For example, if you take a taxi all the way to the Great Wall, you might negotiate a flat fare in advance. There is no tipping for taxis. You simply pay the fare listed on the meter, and you should be given a printed receipt. The only extra charges are for road tolls, like on the airport expressway. Even then, you should be given a receipt that shows the exact amount of the toll. If you ever have any problem with a taxi, just write down the taxi number that's listed on the outside and the inside of the car. Taxis are very strictly regulated, and complaints are usually taken very seriously. In fact, if the driver sees you writing his number down, that's usually enough to solve any problem right away. In my experience, the vast majority of taxi drivers are honest and hardworking. It's a very tough job. Let's take some time now to go over some of the language points that we came across in the dialogue. For example, 一直, all along. This is used to show that an action has been continuous. For example, 这几天天气一直都很冷. These few days, the weather has been cold all the way through. 这几天天气一直都很冷. Here's another example. 过了十字路口，一直往南走. After you pass the intersection, keep going south. 过了十字路口，一直往南走. Here's another point. 辣. Now this character can also be pronounced luo, but here it's pronounced la, to lose or misplace something. For example, 书包落在车上了. The book bag was lost or was left in the car. 书包落在车上了. Here's another example. 下车前好好看看，别落东西. When you get out of the car, when you exit the car, take a good look around. Don't forget anything. 下车前好好看看，别落东西。
对，那个包没有托运，我一直随身带着呢。
那没准啊，落在出租车上了。
对，因为座位太小，我把相机放在后边了。
你呀，丢三落四的毛病也带到中国来了。
妈妈，那里边还有拍不完的胶卷呢。
Let's take a look at the use of 记得 to remember. For example, 你记得出租车的车号吗? Do you remember the number, the car number of the taxi? In English, we'd often say the license number. Do you remember the license number of the taxi? 你记得出租车的车号吗 Here's another example. 我不记得他的电话号码了 I don't remember his telephone number anymore. 我不记得他的电话号码了。
什么样的出租车？车号您记得吗？
没有，你们呢？
Now let's look at the word 得 This character is also pronounced de, but here it should be pronounced 得 In a previous lesson, we learned that this means must or have to. Here it's used more like it will take or it will require or it should be. For example, 坐车去机场得40分钟 It will take 40 minutes to get to the airport by car. 坐车去机场得40分钟 Here's another example. 买这件衣服得花不少钱 It will take a lot of money to buy this clothing. 买这件衣服得花不少钱 Okay, let's go back to the dialogue and see how these few language points were used.
好，那谢谢你啊。
泡的怎么样？
好，他们得跟出租车司机联系一下，有了结果呀，给我们打电话。
哎，又得等。
Let's take a good look now at the sentence pattern making use of the word 把. Now, to put it simply, this is just a way of putting the object in front of the verb. There's no way to translate the specific word 把 in English. It's simply a structural word for the sentence structure subject, 把, object, verb, plus something else. Now, it sounds complicated, but it's really not. For example, 你把护照给我看看 Show me your passport. Here's another example. 他把饭店的杯子打碎了 He broke the hotel glass. This structure is often used to emphasize what happens to the object. By placing the object in front of the verb, you know what is being talked about before you hear the verb. For example, in this previous sentence, 他把饭店的杯子打碎了 We know that the person is talking about the hotel glass before we hear what actually happened to the glass. It's important to note two things. Not all verbs can be used in this sentence structure. The verb must match the object and must describe how the object is managed or manipulated. Secondly, something else must follow the verb. This could be simply the word 了 to show that the action was completed. Or it could be a double verb to indicate that the action continues for some length of time, such as 把护照给我看看 Show me your passport. 看看 indicates that I'm going to take a little bit of a look at it. 把护照给我看看 Let's try some substitutions using the word 把
请帮我把行李送到楼上去。
请帮我把行李送到楼上去。
请把照相机递给我。
把照相机递给我。
Huang Renhao's family had some trouble at the airport. Now they've run into more trouble with the taxi. 他把一个包落在出租车上 She left a bag in the taxi. Problem is, 他不记得车号 They don't remember the car number. But no problem, they still have the 发票, the receipt. 是找钱时给的 It was given to them when they were given the change. All they have to do is call the taxi company and report the time and location that the item was lost, and they should be able to get it back. We'll see how that all goes in the next lesson. Until then, 再见.